Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October. Are we believing this? Honestly, I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds tarot for you today. Here it is. Do I have anything to tell you? Ooh, so there will be an extended at the end of this if it resonates and you're interested in going deeper. That's available. That's the first link in the description box. Also, the 6 months overviews that I've done for each of the signs are now reduced because we're more than a third of the way through that time period. So if you're interested in that, that's the second link in the description. And obviously if you support me on Patreon, you get access to all the extended content for free or sometimes early. And what else? Oh, Mercury Retrograde, last one of the year in Libra. It only lasts for 2 weeks, but obviously there's a 2-week shadow period either side. It's nothing to be too concerned about, but remember that the nature of this energy is reflective. So if you are using it in the best way possible, which is to make sure that, you know, loose ends are tied up and things like that, then there's nothing to be concerned about at all. But it does have rather a reputation for knacking technology and communication. And the way things are going with me at the moment, I think I'm in for a bit of a rough ride on this particular one. Excuse me. So the usual rules apply. You know, if you have contracts to sign, if you can possibly put them off until after the shadow period has ended, then that's great. If not, and I understand that there are situations where you cannot, make sure that you've really read the small print so you know what you're getting yourself into. You know, it's a stitch in time saves 9 and all that kind of energy and other aphorisms that don't come to mind at the moment. Try and avoid buying too big ticket items, you know, just keep things relatively sedate and double check everything, absolutely everything. Okay, so that'll do. Let's have a look and see what's going on with Pisces. Can I have 3 cards for Pisces, please? Oh, recent past, we've got the Queen of Pentacles. Current energy for Pisces, the Hierophant. Ooh. And what's coming towards Pisces, we have the Ace of Pentacles. I like this. We've got the Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here, and it very much fits with the way I've seen your energy going of late, which is applying yourself, but to yourself and your circumstances, your situations. Interesting that we've got a full run of Earth energy across the board here for you. Queen of Pentacles is Capricorn energy, Hierophant is Taurian energy, and then obviously the Ace of Pentacles, which is, it's nice. It feels like, I've just cut the deck and there's the Eight of Pentacles again. It feels like a settling energy, a grounding energy, a very rooting energy, and I like this for you because things have been in flux somewhat for a little while, and I know that some of you have, you know, literally relocated, but others of you have certainly pulled yourself away from circumstances that you found yourself in, and now it seems to be more about getting you settled where you are, ready for what's coming towards you in October, which looks pretty good. Let's get some clarifiers and we'll see what else is going on here. Queen of Pentacles, please. We have the Wheel of Fortune. And we have the Ten of Cups. Interesting. Tell me about the Hierophant, please. Thank you. We have the Devil and we have the Justice card. Interesting. Tell me about the Ace of Pentacles, please. The Five of Pentacles. And the Page of Wands. I really like that, actually. That's very, very cool. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Seven of Cups, followed by the Ace of Wands and the Nine of Cups. And it seems to me that this refers more to the clouds beginning to clear for you, Pisces. There's clarification is coming, and I think it's happening on a daily basis for you now. Now, because the Seven of Cups is all about confusion, right? It's sometimes about emotional illusion. And what we've seen for a lot of this year is Pisces extracting themselves away from those situations where, you know, you had to act like the mist, like the cloud between the cups. cups being all the different emotional situations that you found yourself in. And what you didn't have was the space to find the clarity for yourself, about yourself, you know, for yourself. And that looks like that's shifting for you. Because with this Ace of Wands and Nine of Cups behind it here, you know, we've got your emotional fulfillment front and center here, and the ways in which you are changing your life to adjust to a notion of putting you first. And I like that. Okay? Where it was all sort of murky and misty, and where you didn't really know what you thought about something, how you felt about certain things, that seems like it's on the shift, I was going to say, which is entirely incorrect English. On the rise, about to shift, something like that, right? It's Eight of Pentacles here. Again, there's a real sense of applying yourself to where you are right now. And I do think for a lot of you that this is a journey of self-discovery that you are embarking on here. It was never about getting yourself away from people being the end result that you were after. That was more about creating the space so that you could do the work that you wanted to do. Well overdue for you, I think, Pisces, having that space at least anyway. So in your recent past you have this Capricornian card here of the Queen of Pentacles, and she for me indicates, for the want of a better phrase, self-care. And this is interesting because I feel like quite a lot of the reading is revolving around this here. Like the Pentacles suit for me speaks about certainly the court hierarchy, at least, right? It speaks about different levels of understanding the value of something. So with the Page, it's newly discovering it. With the Knight, it's about holding it front and center and going out into the world with that. With the Queen, it's different. The Queen is about nurturing the self, understanding the value of the self. And it's interesting that it's come up with this Wheel of Fortune and the Ten of Cups, because Pisces has always been extraordinarily interested in the harmonious nature, or the pursuit of the harmonious, shall we say, in terms of the interaction of the people that you really, really care about, right? And it's about keeping everything keeping everything emotionally running smooth. And to some degree, it's almost like that's been your job for a long time. But this Wheel of Fortune here, as well as indicating, you know, an improvement in your general circumstances, you know, good fortune coming in and all that, I see it as a teaching moment too. And it's understanding that although you may have had a part to play in the harmony of, you know, the collective, it should not come at the expense of self. And for the longest time, Pisces, it did. It also speaks to me with this Nine of Cups and the Ace of Wands down there, of a fairly sophisticated and increasingly deep understanding that unless you show up personally in a Nine of Cups situation, you maybe aren't doing the best justice to this Ten of Cups that you could be doing, right? What we want, ideally, is everyone turning up in the Nine of Cups sort of energy, right? Everybody taking responsibility for their own emotional well-being and not relying on, say, the local neighborhood Pisces to do all of the emotional labor for them, do all the emotional heavy lifting. And that's something that you've done, and you've borne it without complaint for a long time, but it wasn't your job. You know, and I feel very strongly like this is something that you are now understanding very, very strongly. And if that means that the tribe that you've been, you know, surrounded with for a long time were not really your people, I feel like that's something that you're becoming very comfortable with now. This is not something that's causing you any great degree of alarm, because your focus has shifted and because you are looking at you now. I just want to pull one more card for this. Sorry about the fluctuating light. It's actually quite early here, and I was like, brilliant, there's no traffic, this is excellent. I had the window open, and then I lit the cauldron, and the cauldron had an absolute fit and just filled the turret full of smoke. And then my next door neighbour came out and started hoovering his car at fucking 20 to 6 in the morning. I mean, 27 in the morning. I mean, really. So then I had to wait for the cauldron to stop billowing smoke and then close the window. But yeah, the light's fluctuating quite a lot because it's early. Let's have a look at this. Tell me about this Wheel of Fortune. Thank you. Yeah, 7 of Pentacles. Where you thought the people that you were around, perhaps, or maybe you didn't. I mean, maybe you intuited that these people were not for you, but you just weren't quite sure how to remove yourself from, you know, the environment. Now you have. Now you do know how to do that. And the ways in which this was less than satisfactory are really becoming obvious to you now, all with you front and center, right? The way that you look after yourself, the way that you interact with other people, you know, what you bring to the table and how much more you brought to the table than you should have done. And so we move here to the Hierophant. Like I said, it's Taurian energy. And it deals very much with notions of commitment, right? The Hierophant is actually one of the acolyte cards. And it is usually depicted with this kind of Pope-like figure with 2, you know, acolytes kneeling at his feet. And he is disseminating knowledge, right, and wisdom, because the Hierophant is a teacher. And maybe you are a teacher. Maybe that is something that's that you do. But the interesting thing about this in the Pagan Otherworlds is that the Hierophant is depicted as solitary here. Right? He's not an acolyte card in this deck. Neither is he particularly ostentatiously dressed like we see in the standard depiction of the Pope card, right? He looks, in fact, just like a wise old farmer, and, you know, where he would be having his big Pope stick, I don't know what they call it. I probably do, but I've forgotten. He actually has some sort of stylized pitchfork and a bushel of wheat on his head. Okay, there's something very much simpler about this. There's an idea of returning to a simpler version of living that is implied here, and it's no less wise. You know, there is no less value in what is contained within the head and the heart of the Hierophant here, but it's without all the unnecessary finery. You know, I'm just going to pull out the Hierophant card here so I can give you a point of contrast. She says, let's find it. Give me a second, because I think that this is irrelevant. Here we are. Look, there he's got his funny Pope stick and his funny Pope hat. Yeah. I think popes usually wear those big fish hats, don't they? They look like big fish mouths. But this one's got more of a crown on his head, and he's in, you know, what we can only imagine is a very elaborate setting. There, and there are the acolytes down by his feet. In this card, I sometimes get the impression that the pomp and ceremony of the ritual has overtaken what should be just the dissemination of knowledge, you know, the sharing of spiritual goodness, right? It's got a gatekeepery kind of feel about it, this one. But this one does not. This one is very approachable. And there's something interesting that runs across all 3 of these cards here, the main card and the 2 clarifiers. Check it out. So we have the Devil and we have the Justice card. And then we have the Hierophant here. Now notice every single one of these characters has one hand aloft and one hand down, right? They're actually all in a very similar position. Now this is the card of Capricorn here, and this is the card of Libra. This card talks about fear, ultimately. It talks about lots of things. It talks about codependence, it talks about toxicities, it talks about feeling trapped by circumstances. But the feeling of being trapped is the fear, you know, the fear of doing something differently. But the Justice card is all about balance and equilibrium, bringing harmony to a situation, right? Bringing a sense of natural justice to a situation. Balancing out of things. Sometimes it can be consequences, sometimes it can be karma, you know. But all in all, even with all three characters pulling exactly the same pose, I mean, it's not exactly the same pose actually, these two are pulling the same pose, okay? Left hand up, right hand down. It's the other way around in this card, which means that this card actually could be a mirror in terms of its positioning, right? So here's you being simpler, being grounded, losing, you know, the pomp and circumstance of the ritual, like casting all of that aside and just working on the knowledge, what you know and what you can do here in the 3D. Because there's a transitional nature to this, right? Your card is the High Priestess, right? It is that incredible feminine wisdom that comes from the openness to emotion and intuition and your higher self and the universe, you know, whatever it is. She's a conduit, she's a channel, and she allows all of this stuff to flow through her. But ultimately she's still water, and so she's very passive. Earth, I think, is also, is Earth feminine or Earth masculine? I don't remember. I have no idea. But it's boots on the ground. It's what you're committing to here and now. It's what you're building in the here and now. And it feels like it's different. So you, in this simpler state, are now looking at this. And do you have a decision to make, or are you seeing the two sides of yourself? The side of yourself that always tries to do the right thing, and the side of yourself that sometimes doesn't do the right thing. You know? Now, I'm not saying that, you know, going around in a state of ultimate sin, I'm not that sort of thing. But it seems to me like you're facing your fears in a very grounded, very committed and very resolute way at the moment. Because, you know, we all contain all the energies, masculine and feminine energies, you know, good, bad, black, white, you know, we live in a duality consciousness, right? So everything needs to be balanced, everything needs to be... There's no avoiding the shadow, right? So the shadow and everything that it contains, and I feel like we're looking at that here. And then a higher sense of what we do to work with this. The Hierophant, like the High Priestess, and almost like the Magician as well in that case, is kind of like a point of contact between the earth and between something higher. And for all I'm not a massive fan of the Hierophant most of the time, because it talks about doing things the way that they have always been done, simply because they have always been done there, right? It's not a card that speaks of change particularly, except that we're looking at it in a stepped down, stripped down version of it. And it's like, what do I keep? You know, what about me and my circumstances and the way that I live and the way that I choose to show up in the world do I keep? What do I commit to? And what else is there knocking around in me that is coming from a place of fear? Fear of consequences, potentially. And how do I address this? You know, it looks to me like you are engaged in some pretty deep work, Pisces. Tell me about the devil, please. Got the King of Wands in reverse and the High Priestess. And both cards, which, you know, separately would refer to a lack of action or passivity. But together, I mean, it's, for fuck's sake, I'm just throwing cards around everywhere. Together, it's a very, very strong statement of the things that you are afraid to do. Or the things, yeah, Four of Pentacles, right? What are you holding on to? And there you are again behind it, Pisces, right? You're stumping your energy all over this, and I like this very, very much, right? Changing your perspective, if you will, on the things that you're holding on to. But in order to let go of things, you need to know in the first instance what they are. And this feels like what it is you're kind of digging around in here at the moment. Right? This is a very strong statement, just as the Hanged Man there was, of your energy. You being here, you working with this thing. But this lack of action coming under here. What are you afraid to do? What are you afraid to work on? Those are the things that at this point you're being asked to commit to sitting with and working with. Now, it might be that you don't actually need to do anything other than sit with this energy for you, right? Understand how it feels. Where is the root of this issue? You know, what is going on here? Like I said, this can talk about codependency and toxicity and all that sort of thing. But ultimately, when you boil all of those things down, you are coming to fear, right? Coming from a place of fear. There's something else here. I can feel it, but I'm not quite sure what it is. Tell me about the Justice card, please. The Nine of Pentacles. And it's interesting because for me the Nine of Pentacles is the absolute polar opposite of the Devil card. Now bear in mind that the Devil card is major arcana and this is minor arcana, this Nine of Pentacles here. But this is coming from a place of fear. This is feeling like you are trapped in, you know, whatever it is, X, Y, and Z, whether it's a relationship or a situation or whatever, right? Or even, you know, in terms of addiction and things like that, right? I can't give up because, you know, my life will be wretched without this thing. Or it's just too hard. I can't do it. You know, those are all the kind of energies of the Devil card here. The Nine of Pentacles, though, is self-sufficiency, it's independence, it's self-reliance. It is not being yoked by the neck like we see the characters here in the Devil card. If this is codependence, then this is the absolute fucking opposite of that. And so what we've got here, like I said, is some deep work. You're looking at the ways in which you will not take action on certain things. And maybe you've put it down to your Piscean nature, but I think the reality of the situation is that you're starting to see that there are some subconscious antics at play here. And with this Nine of Pentacles coming out under the Justice card, it's like, no, I want to sort this out, actually. And maybe it's the ways in which you have subjugated your will to other people's for the entirety of your life. Like, where did that start? Now, choosing to be born a Pisces, you're going to have that propensity within you there. But what are the circumstances that have shored up that, you know, life lesson that you have set for yourself? Like, these are the things that I feel like you're exploring at this time, but you're doing it from such a grounded place. I really, really like it. It's spectacularly grounded for Pisces, and I can only assume that the moves that you've made over the last few months are suiting you very, very well. You know, this space that you were looking for, you now have, and you're not sitting on your laurels with it. You're not just sitting there and going, well, this is nice, I'm on my own now, it's peaceful and it's quiet and that's good. You know, there is work going on here at the same time, exactly as you intuited it would do. You know, that's what's happening here. So when we've got it's coming towards you in October, we have the Ace of Pentacles. Now, that can be an opportunity of some sort, you know, to improve your material circumstances. It's rarely just a pot of money landing in your lap, but it's an opportunity perhaps to gain a pot of money. That's one way of looking at it. So it can be a promotion, a new job, a new house, you know, it's material things. It's some sort of improvement. But there is another way to look at the Suit of Pentacles, and it's one that I do relatively often, and that is seeing Pentacles as energetic currency. Right? So anything that you are capable of investing then becomes a pentacle, whether it is your time, your care, your effort, your money, your love, your energy, whatever it is. And far too often what we find is that, you know, we allow energy to leak out of us through relationships, through, you know, we're just putting our attention in the wrong places. Now, because you're at a point of such singular focus at the moment, Pisces, and I really do feel like that, it's almost unswerving focus on the task in hand. What we've got here is an opportunity arising that comes from you redirecting energy that has been going elsewhere up until this point. It's an invitation for you to invest energy in a new direction. Now, the cards that came out with it were the Five of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. And I actually said I really quite liked that combination, although this is quite a challenging and difficult card. You know, this is a card of isolating oneself, or being isolated by people. You know, it's being left out in the cold. You know, it's not having somewhere to turn when you are, you know, deeply in need. But I feel for you, it's more like an acknowledgement of this having been an energy that you've been in for quite a long time. Because when you push through all the kind of fairly flat interpretations of this card, what you end up with is somebody who has not taken care of their own basic needs. Right? That's what the meaning of this card is for me. I don't feel like you are a victim of circumstance exactly, although you might be on the face of it, you know. It's not a victim of circumstance card for me. And it's interesting that you should be here as the Hierophant, and the natural habitat, one would assume, for a Hierophant is going to be in some sort of religious building, as we've got here, right? It's looking at the ways in which you've allowed your energy to leak, the way that you have allowed people to take from you, and the ways in which perhaps you have given over and above time and time again, where you didn't need to, where really the onus was on you to pull up a boundary and say, actually, do you know what, like, this doesn't work for me. Whether you state that overtly or you just behave as such, you know, certainly thinking it the whole time. But the fact that it's here with the Page of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles says this is a change in direction. This is you going off in a slightly different path. And I would say that it's not necessarily one that you anticipated, but I think that it feels like it's a natural corollary of the state that you're in at the moment, with the kind of insights that are coming now and the kind of work that you are doing, the way you are looking at everything. It's a realization of this Five of Pentacles rather than the reality of it hitting you in October and you being like, shit, I've got no money now. Like, it doesn't feel like that. The Page of Wands for me is a precursor to movement. It's not movement itself. We see that in the Knight of Wands, but this is about getting excited about a new direction. Right? All the pages have got jobs to do, but this is the one that gets excited about the new experiences that they're about to have. Right, in whatever sense that applies. Do I want to pull one more for that? No, I think I'll leave that for the Vimeo. But opportunities may be coming thick and fast for you, Pisces, in October, and they're going to take a slightly different form to the obvious. If your eyes are open to seeing them, and I truly believe they are, you know, it feels like the work that you're doing in the here and now, addressing your devil and aiming for your justice card from this very grounded and rooted place, is setting the scene, it's setting the ground for what comes next. And, you know, perhaps you are drawing these opportunities towards you, or perhaps you are just putting yourself into a mindset where you are open to receiving them. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because the end result is the same. So whilst you may not have whilst the opportunity itself may not drop exactly onto your lap in October, the potential for it seems to be coming, because you've got something to be excited about here, but there's no movement as yet, right? So perhaps it's meeting some new people and making some new contacts with something. Maybe it's somebody getting in touch and going, oh, I hear you do this sort of thing, you know, I've got this thing laid up and we could really do with someone with your expertise joining in, you know, how do you feel about that? Would you be open to it, you know? But the change is in the way that you are choosing to live. It's turning your back on any notion of poverty of any description, you know, whether that's spiritual or emotional or, you know, whatever, financial potentially. And choosing to turn your eye instead towards the possibility of great abundance. I've just noticed the Page of Wands is actually at the bottom of the other deck as well. Right? Looks like exciting things are headed your way if you are open to them. And I think that you will be, because like I said, I think all of this work here that you're doing is paving the way for this to come through. So I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, and we're going to look at October specifically. We're going to start trying to pull that apart a little bit and see if we can get some specifics for that. So if you're interested, it's the first link in the description box. If not, no shade, not a problem at all. I will see you next time. Know that I love you all very much, and I'm so proud of you. Like, you're doing such good work at the moment, Pisces. Like, it's brilliant. It's really, really brilliant. Take care, and I'll see you soon.